everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can probably tell from the title, we're going to be talking about another tricky, controversial topic, and that is the big question of, is zero waste a privilege? Now, before I lose anyone, I'm just gonna jump right into it. Yes, I think zero waste is a privilege. But now let's talk about the terms privilege and the term zero waste. According to Oxford Dictionary, privilege is a special right or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. And then zero waste is kind of tricky. It was designed as a term to be used for companies and corporations to actually, for them to reduce their physical waste, but it's kind of gone down to the consumer. Of course. The term zero waste isn't necessarily to produce literally zero waste. As a whole, it's just supposed to be not sending as much waste to landfill. Maybe a better word would be low waste living, sustainable living. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to literally think of zero waste as little waste as possible. And of course, that really is a privilege. Not everyone has the privilege to avoid plastic and avoid packaging in general. Not everyone has access to a bulk store. Not everyone has enough money to buy their reusable bags. Zero waste living really is a privilege, but sustainable living and reducing your waste even just a little bit is accessible to almost everyone. Not everyone lives in the right area to be able to live zero waste. Not everyone has enough money or the time to even worry about how much waste they make. So I guess that's how I want to start out this video, is by talking about myths around zero waste and some misconceptions and how we can bust them. Keep in mind that this is just how the zero waste movement is portrayed. It's not actually how it is. These are all just stereotypes. The first one is that the zero waste movement is portrayed as only young white females. While it is true a lot of young white females are the front lines of zero waste, that's not everyone who's a part of this movement. I know people who are much older who are doing their best to reduce their waste. The older generation tends to be a lot more frugal, and with that comes reusing single-use items and turning them into multi-use items. But not just there, there's also males who are part of this movement. One of my favorite zero waste, he's also another one who tries to take zero waste and turn it into a practical thing and not something that's hard and expensive. I'll leave his channel link down below. I really encourage you to check him out. Super, super helpful. And then the third one, I've seen people of every race, color, ethnicity. I've seen so many people a part of this movement. There is not a one size fits all. That's just how it's portrayed. Top 3 or 4 people in the environmental movement happen to be young white females, but that's not everyone who makes up this movement. I've heard from a lot of people I've seen on the internet that it's hard to become part of a movement when you don't see someone who represents you. If there's no one yet, someone has to be the first, and maybe it can be you. Number 2 is that zero waste is portrayed as expensive. I am one of the most frugal people you will ever meet, but if I don't have to spend money, I'm not going to. It can be expensive if you go into this movement and you're like, I need a reusable water bottle, I need new containers, I need new mason jars. But you don't have to. You can simply use what you have. You can thrift things for a lot cheaper. There are so many options to become a part of this movement without having to spend a lot of money. I actually have a video right here about ways that you can save money by living more sustainably. I'm working on a lot more videos on this topic as well. Free ways to live low waste, more ways that you can save money and even make money by living low waste, and things like that. Number 3, like I kind of already mentioned, it is portrayed to be literally zero waste. And I think that's when the privilege issue comes in, is yes, it really is a privilege to produce literally zero waste, or only a mason jar's worth of trash every decade or something. That is a privilege. I don't think it's a privilege to refuse a straw with your drink or turn off the lights when you're not using them. There are so many simple ways, and like I mentioned, if you're interested in that video about free ways to live sustainably, please be sure to hit subscribe and the bell for post notifications to be sure to be notified of that video. Zero waste is just trying your best not to send stuff to landfill. It's okay to still create waste, but dispose of it properly. And also think about the invisible waste, like turning off your lights, turning off the water. Number 4 kind of goes with point number 2, and that is, it is portrayed that you have to buy a lot of stuff in order to be a part of the zero waste movement. That is very wrong. That is anti-zero waste, actually. I think that's another thing too, is when you see someone who's been a part of the movement for like 10 years and they have these beautiful glass jars and they're all these plants and stuff, and you just think, I need to be this person, I need to go out and buy all this stuff right now. No, it took them 10 years to accumulate all this stuff. They probably thrifted it, they probably got it secondhand. And I think a big part of zero waste too, it goes hand in hand with minimalism and conscious living. So use what you have, don't buy things you don't need, and if you need something, try to find it secondhand. The 5th one I have is that it's portrayed that you have to make every single swap that's on the internet. I was inspired to talk about this because I watched a video recently about zero waste and elitism. And I agreed with a lot of her points, but she was talking about one of my favorite sustainable YouTubers and about how she was installing a rain catcher. And she was like, this is elitist. No one else can do this. You have to be rich and like live in the right area to do this. And I'm like, yes, that's true. She's not telling every single person to install a rain barrel in their house though. She's just filming and documenting her life to show you how she is living more sustainably, to maybe inspire other people, because I've never heard of a rain barrel catcher until I watched that video. I don't have a rain barrel catcher. I can't do that in my house. So I guess that's just the point too, is it's portrayed as being hard because it's portrayed as you have to do all of these swaps in order to live sustainably, and that's not true. Like I mentioned in all of my videos, your small changes do have a big impact in the long run. So start small. Start with just one thing a day, and eventually you'll be able to do a lot more in your life. While I do think that zero waste is a privilege, I do not think that living sustainably is a privilege. Almost every single person has the ability to reduce their waste, even in the slightest, just a little bit. And you might not agree with me on this, but I have so many resources on my blog and already on my channel about very simple, practical, easy, free ways to live zero waste, to live more sustainably. I'm not asking anyone for perfection. I'm just asking everyone to be a little more conscious of their actions and even just research the impact of our actions. And here's a point that I've talked about a few times on my channel now. I talked about it after we went to Thailand and I noticed the freshwater and the plastic crisis there. And then I talked about it in my Earth Day video as well. By the way, I will leave all these videos mentioned linked down below. But there are people literally living in countries where they don't have access to clean water other than through a plastic water bottle. So why should they be concerned about their plastic waste? And simple, it's just that. They shouldn't have to worry about living low waste when they don't even have access to clean drinking water. I'm not demanding that every single person on this planet live more sustainably. That's just not feasible. But I do think that it's easier than a lot of people think. It's not expensive, it's not hard. You don't have to make every single action today. You don't even have to make every single action in your lifetime. Every lifestyle is a choice. Dan always says that people have time and money for what people want to have time and money for, and I completely agree. I even catch myself saying that sometimes. And I guess it's just interesting to, like, once you're a part of the movement, sit back and watch everyone else and be like, yeah, this is what I am dedicating my time to, not necessarily my money. And honestly, not even my time. Yeah, it doesn't take any more time out of my day to ask the cashier for no bag. It doesn't take any more time out of my day to ask the barista for no straw. Of course not now, because no one can go to coffee shops. You don't have to have a lot of money to consume less. You don't have to live in an eco-friendly city to refuse unnecessary items. I do notice that a lot of these people at the forefront of the zero waste movement do live in cities like Austin and Portland and Seattle, like very eco-friendly cities, very vegan-friendly cities, but you don't have to live in one of those cities to say, no bag, please, I'll carry it. Honestly, that's kind of what inspired me to start this channel and start talking about practical sustainability, is because I live on this teeny tiny island in the middle of the Pacific in one of the least eco-conscious countries I've ever heard of, and I'm still able to live semi-sustainably. I'm not perfect, but I'm certainly not producing nearly as much waste as the average American. These concepts of consuming less and just refusing unnecessary items are accessible to almost anyone around the globe. It just depends if you make those conscious daily decisions or not. I'm not saying it's completely easy, and I'm not saying it's completely free. It does take a whole new mindset to be able to live a more conscious, sustainable lifestyle. But it is not expensive as you think, and it's not as hard as you think. Once you set those habits, it's a lot more easy to go about it in your daily life. I think it's funny too that some of the most privileged people in the world are probably some of the most wasteful. The first thing that came to mind when I was thinking about this was the Kardashians. They are multi-millionaires. You see them always flaunting new clothes and living in their mansions that take a lot of energy to heat and cool in their pools that are wasting fresh water. It's actually a really interesting video. I will leave it linked down below too. One of my favorite people, a part of this movement, her name is Kristen Leo. She had a very interesting video recently about the wealthy. So clearly you don't have to be a millionaire to live low waste. I will admit that we live very comfortably when it comes to money, but we also live way below our means. Budget, we try not to impulse buy as much as possible, and we try to only buy what we need. Like I mentioned earlier, I have only bought a few things to help me live more sustainably. The rest has been lifestyle changes or things I've made myself. Even just a lot of the habits I've set for myself, the very, very weird things I do to live more sustainably, even those weird things I do help me to reduce my waste. But the most important thing to remember out of all of this, I've mentioned it in several videos, is that It's not our fault entirely as the consumers. While we do need to live more consciously and vote with our dollar and show these companies what we want and what we don't want, it's not our fault that companies are packaging stuff in plastic and producing things unethically and unsustainably. It's not our fault. We can vote with our dollar, we can vote in our local and higher up elections, we can write to our leaders, we can write to these companies. There's a lot of actions we can do when it comes to demanding change. So that way, zero waste and sustainable living can be more accessible to almost everyone. So this whole video concept stemmed from a comment I got recently. They called me a wealthy elitist who only has ideas that cause people to sacrifice things, and that it's all just a do as I say, not as I do. And this one really got to me because I've centered my entire existence on the internet now around simple environmentalism and practical sustainability. My goal here on YouTube and on my blog and on my Instagram is to show people that sustainability can be easy, it can be cheap, and it can be achievable by almost everyone. Even if it's just small changes, you don't have to do anything crazy. It is accessible to almost everyone. And I also really try to lead by example. I show you my beach cleanups, I show you my DIYs, I show you my decluttering, because I want to show you that I lead by example and that it can be easy. Go ahead and have those opinions, but I don't agree with you. And I guess that's the beauty of an opinion. Of course, my goal is to show people that living sustainably can be easy and practical, but also I want to shed light on these hard topics like living low waste can be easy and it doesn't have to be expensive. It's all about simplicity and practicality here at The Simple Environmentalist, and I hope that you appreciate that. I already kind of started this series on my blog. This was like my first series of posts I put on my blog a while ago now, but I'm gonna start this series here on YouTube as well with a title that's way too long because I don't know what else to call it. Living sustainably doesn't mean you have to change your life. Maybe we'll just call it practical environmentalism, practical sustainability. I'm doing stuff like weird things I do to reduce my waste every day, free ways to reduce your waste, ways that you can save money or even make money by living low waste, and other things like that. So let me know what other type of videos you want to see in this series, other hard topics you want me to cover, other research you want me to do. I love doing research and talking about stuff and educating you guys. Most of us have choices every day that we can make when it comes to waste. We all have the potential to make waste and give our money to wasteful practices. But the good news is we also have the potential to avoid this waste. Reducing waste is easily accessible to almost every person. The important thing is that we need to support each other. Whether you think someone is an elitist or you think someone is privileged or you don't think someone's doing enough, get those thoughts out of your head. We are all in this fight together. We are all working hard to save our planet. So I hope that you at least learned that from this video and you can take that away and you can support each other. If you have anything to add to this controversial topic, please be sure to leave it down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on this. If you like this type of video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe. That would really make my day. And if you want to see more from me, be sure to check out my Instagram and my blog. They will be linked down below. And until next time, remember that these small changes you make have a big impact in the long run. Bye guys. So how low is whiffing? And until next time, remember that remember, it's 3 syllables, not 1.